Hey there, Kitsap County. Welcome back to another weekly video. This week's topic, what is the cost of buying a home? So buyers, this one's for you. I'm Cassandra Lopez with Dupuis team at Keller Williams West Sound. And get your pencil ready because we're going to have a bullet list of items that you might be on the hook for when you're buying a home. So first one we'll start with is your earnest money deposit. Your earnest money deposit is due upon mutual acceptance. So when you and the seller agree on all the terms and conditions, you have a signed around contract, that's called mutual acceptance. Earnest money is due within a few days, typically 2 business days. Could be 3, could be longer if it's agreed upon, but default is 2 days. So your earnest money deposit is an upfront good faith deposit. It's not a down payment. A down payment would be delivered at closing, and we'll get there. Good faith upfront deposit showing the seller how much you are willing to risk by defaulting on your contract. So, okay, let's back it up. We're not saying you're going to default on your contract. We're not saying that you're going to plan on defaulting on your contract. Your contract's going to be likely built with plenty of safety nets for you, like your home inspection and your financing and that sort of stuff, which your broker can walk you through what all that means. But essentially, most contracts are written so that your earnest money deposit will be considered liquidated damages in the case that you default on your contract. So the larger the earnest money deposit, the stronger your offer is, because the seller is going to see that and say there's no way they're going to default on their contract and walk away from that amount of money. Your earnest money deposit is also considered a credit to you at closing. So it's held in an escrow account, and at closing, you'll see on your line item settlement statement, earnest money deposit, X amount of dollars as a credit to you. So if there's any cash due at closing, it'll be applied to that. And if there's a balance, there'll be more cash due to close. So earnest money, what amount do you have to put down? So that's the funny thing, is that there's no required amount. There's no law or rule saying what amount. Industry standard is about 1% of the purchase price. So $300,000 house, that's $3,000. And the larger your down earnest money deposit, the less cash you'll owe at closing. So earnest money deposit is one of the upfront costs to buying a home. Has to be liquid funds, cannot be put on a credit card. Another cost is your home inspection. So your home inspection is obviously widely and highly recommended. We never recommend you waive your home inspection. So that fee could be anywhere between $350 and $550, depending on who your inspector is. Drive time, if they have to drive a long way, maybe the size of the home, if it's a really large home, if there's lots of outbuildings that you want to inspect. So it's a really good idea to call around and get a couple of quotes for your home inspection. And that, again, is going to be a fee paid to the home inspector at the time of service. So that's a fee for their service. Going along with that, you can have a septic scope or a sewer scope, depending on if your home is serviced by a septic system or a sewer. That's another fee because it's a plumber who does that, and so you're going to pay him. If you need anybody else to come out, like a roofer or an electrician or a foundation guy, these guys all may have fees associated with their inspections. So that's all stuff to budget for and plan accordingly, because buyer, in the course of your due diligence in purchasing your home, these are all fees you're going to be on the hook for. The seller doesn't pay for any of this stuff, okay? So far we have earnest money, we have your home inspection and or any other inspections you decide to have. Typically, a buyer is satisfied with a home inspection. We recommend a home inspection and a sewer scope, because you never know what's going on with the plumbing, especially if it's like an older home or if it's a property with tons of trees around, tree roots getting in those pipes that we don't want. Another cost is your appraisal fee. So your appraisal fee typically will be paid as part of your closing costs. Your appraiser, who is a neutral third party, it's ordered by your lender. So we actually don't have a relationship with your appraiser. You're not going to go out and hire one. They're ordered by your lender, and then it's a lottery system, whoever picks up the order. So it's very objective. Nobody really knows who it's going to be. So your appraisal fee could be anywhere between $800 and $1,200. Again, depending on the size of the home, the drive time, if it's a really unique property and the appraiser has to put in some extra hours finding comparables or doing calculations or adjustments, that may factor in as well. Your lender will likely collect a credit card or checking account information from you to pay the appraisal fee. And the only way or the only reason they would use a credit card or, a checking account withdrawal would be if you have your appraisal, but the transaction doesn't close, because your appraiser still needs to be paid for his services. If it closes, the appraisal fee will be paid out of closing costs, likely, 99% of the time. But that's a good question to ask your lender. Is this fee an upfront fee? Do I have to pay at the time of service? Or is this going to be a fee that is wrapped into my closing costs? So that's another one. If you are in a really competitive offer scenario and you elect to contribute extra money towards a low appraisal. So if you have factored in a dollar amount, say $5,000, if the appraisal comes in low, buyer will contribute up to $5,000 towards bridging that gap. Okay. So depending on if the appraisal comes in low and how much low, how low it comes in, will determine how much extra cash to close you will be on the hook for. But just prepare for that full amount that you agreed to. For in my example, it's 5,000, could be 10, could be 25. Some of those higher end properties, I've seen buyers come in with a $25,000 extra contribution for cash to close in the case of a low appraisal. That's committed, you guys, and that's going to make your offer really strong. And it's no guarantee or promise that you're going to have to pay that. It's just extra security for the seller in the case that does happen. It's all hypothetical until it happens, right? So that whatever dollar amount you agree to in that document and in that term is going to be potentially extra cash to close as well. So far we have earnest money, home inspection, or any other inspections you elect to have, your appraisal fee, and your additional cash to close in the case of a low appraisal. And now we have your down payment. So there are a few loan products out there that are zero down, like a VA or a USDA. We also have the FHA with the Washington State Housing Finance Commission state bond down payment assistance, which is 4%, 3.5% for a down payment, and 0.5% towards closing costs. So that's considered zero down, even though it's technically a first and a second mortgage. And then we have a conventional loan, which is anywhere from 3% down up. Conventional loan, there's no max limit. You can put 95% down if you want, in which case, why wouldn't you just pay cash? But the minimum you have to put down is 3%, and you're going to want to double check with the lender on this because they change their programs all the time. It's my understanding as of today that a 3% down payment for a conventional loan product is for first-time home buyers only. So you're going to want to double check that. So we have conventional, USDA, VA, FHA. If you don't use the down payment assistance with your FHA loan, it's an automatic 3.5% down. So whatever purchase price, say your home is $500,000 and you want to put 10% down with a conventional loan, that's $50,000, right? So that's money, that's going to be cash to close. And depending on how your contract's written, you may have it cash in the bank. It may be contingent on the sale of your property. It may be contingent on a gift from grandma or waiting on an inheritance or something like that. Wherever the money is coming from, it will have been disclosed in your initial offer. So however your offer is structured, whatever terms you and your seller agree to, that's where the money's coming from. It will be liquid by closing if it's not already, and that'll be, your cash to close. And then you have your loan costs. So your loan costs and settlement costs or loan cost provisions, all are kind of the same way of saying closing costs. So basically it's your loan fees, your loan origination fee, any points you are charged to buy down your rate, prepaid interest from the day of closing through the last day of the month, prepaid property taxes from the day of closing to the next billing cycle for property taxes. And plus, I believe they collect about 2.5 months to keep in a reserve account. So that factors into your cash to close. Your homeowner's insurance, so they're going to collect that for the next year, plus 2.5 months, I believe, just to have some reserves in an account. And just so you all know, when you set up your when your mortgage is set up for you, you don't have to do anything. They have an account. It's called an impound account or an escrow account, and they're going to collect taxes and property insurance out of your monthly payment. So you just pay one fee every month for your mortgage. And from that, they take out taxes and insurance, hold them in this impound account. And your servicer, whoever you pay your mortgage to, twice a year will pay your property taxes, and once a year will pay your homeowner's insurance. So you never have to think about it. You never have to do it. The only time you need to think about doing it is when you pay off your mortgage and you don't have anybody servicing that for you anymore. So you need to pick that up after you pay off your mortgage. But for now, it's paid for you out of your monthly fee, and your escrow account will handle that for you, which is very nice. So those are all collected as closing costs and cash to close. So typically closing costs are anywhere from 2.5% to 3.5%, depending on your property purchase price, your interest rates, the current property taxes, a myriad of factors that is not unique or not unique. Let me back that up. A myriad of factors that don't apply to all transactions. Every transaction is different. Every buyer is different. Every house is different. Every transaction is structured differently. So they all look different. Your lender will be able to give you a quote on what they estimate your closing costs to be based on your contract. So if you're a buyer in this market, those are just a handful of things to be prepared to pay for. This market doesn't allow very frequently for any seller concessions. So don't expect to be able to ask the seller to cover any of that stuff. Even if you inflate the purchase price, because somebody's going to inflate the purchase price and not ask for that stuff. So, it's just math, and sellers are generally going to elect the contract that nets them the most money, especially in this market. So if you have any questions about how much it costs to buy a house, the fees, the down payment, the initial payment, the earnest money, any of that stuff, shoot us a question, Facebook Messenger, or comment on the video, like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Cassandra Lopez with Dupuis team at Keller Williams. Meet us right here next week for another weekly video on a hot topic in this crazy market, and bye for now.